completely different beast. In a way they, you know, it's great as a database because everything's kind of normalized, but, or denormalized I should say. But from a reporting perspective, knowing where the tables are, what they represent, how it moves data, because at the end of the year, you close out all your transactions and it moves into a different table, and that table is now new. For the new year, it's empty. So if you need to compare year over year, you have to go to different tables, and it's...
I'm sure we'll be using a lot of the same ones.
You will. Yeah. So in the back of the book, those... Yeah, the back of the book has the ones that you're going to use most often.
That'll be helpful. This is a really good tool.
I think so. And then if you go to, let's see, one thing I always go to is, where are you? So you can find this. This is for now 2015. Okay. So I can look at, okay, well, if I've got a sales table, I can click on the sales tables. Which tables kind of apply to my sales? I can look at any one of these, click on customer, and within that, eventually it'll come up, it'll show me here are all the list of the fields in that table. It also gives me a little bit of a description about what's in there. So this MSDN is a really helpful thing to go to. You know, as you go through, and, oh, where can I do this? A lot of times what I do is I'll search for something, you know, Navision, yada, 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 and it pulls me up to one of these pages in general. So I use that a lot as well. Everybody got 2 more minutes. If they're not here, we'll go on to our examples.
Yeah.
Is that normal?
Oh, sure.
Do mine.
I didn't hear please in that sentence anyway. Okay.
Please, Sir Justin. Is that better?
I'm not British. I'm not knighted yet, so. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
All
threw
that.
that in there. That's funny.
When do you want me to start?
Get enough people, Paul will kind of come back in. Before I move on to Module 4, on page 337, 338, and 339, we have 3 exercises. They'll kind of wrap up everything we've done up to this point. Right? It's going to want us to draw a mock-up. It's going to want us to figure out what the filters are, figure out which tables and fields we're going to go to, and then actually build them. There's 3 examples. If we try and go over all of them, a long time, right? I have to give you probably 15, 20 minutes for each one, and then we have to go over them. So we're going to discuss number 1. We'll do number 2, and then we'll just kind of discuss briefly version 3, or exercise 3. So exercise 1, our vendor balances. Lately we have been getting hit with finance charges from our vendors because we have not been paying down balances on time. In order to resolve this problem, Amy, the AP manager, has requested the following report. I need a report that shows me all vendors that we currently have an outstanding balance with. For each vendor, I need to see their name, number, name, phone number, contact person, vendor posting group, balance, and payment terms. I will need to be able to select which vendors show based on their vendor posting group, sort the list so that the highest balance is first. So the first thing it says we want to do is draw up our mock-up. So I'm going to build it in Excel, just because you can see that easy. So what is it? What fields? What are our display fields that we want to see on our report?
The vendor number,
Vendor number.
vendor name,
Okay.
phone number, posting group, payment terms.
Put in balance as well. So our mock-up, we're just putting in our headers here. Okay. Do we need to apply any sorting to this?
Yeah.
What do we need to sort by?
Balance.
Highest balance first. So if I build this in Excel, I can't really draw an arrow on here. So if you do build it in Excel, what I always do is I just go to shapes, grab an arrow. There we go. Now I can see balance sorted. I just draw it next to your mock-up there. All right, so great. We've got our display. We've got what we want. We know we want to sort on our balance. When it comes to our filters, what is it that we need to filter on?
Posting group.
Our vendor posting group, is that going to be a report or a hard-coded?
I would put
Report, right? She says she wants to be able to choose it. So that'll be a report filter. Anything else we need to sort on or apply a filter to? Balance,
Highest.
right. Yeah, we want to apply, a balance. Now, would we make that a report filter or a hard-coded filter?
like hard-coded.
Yeah, hard-coded. Why would we really ever want her to choose that? That's one of those that could go either way. Maybe she does greater than 0 and it brings back 5,000 lists, this big massive list. Maybe she wants to change it and say, well, let's start with the big fish. Who do we owe $100,000 to? Who do we owe $10,000 to? Whatever it is. So that could be one of those filters that goes either way. It's totally up to you. You may make it a hard-coded filter and Amy comes back to you and says, I'd really like to be able to choose a filter, that's a value. Or she comes back to you multiple times, can you change it to this now? Can you change it to this now? She comes back to me more than once, do it yourself.
Okay, so once we've created this, and let's say we've generated the report, the person who gets this report now wants to be able to sort it differently. It just is basic Excel functionality?
No, sorting, it does have to be done within the replicator, which means it has to be done by a designer. They could technically take the report, convert it to a table, and then resort it that way. Just know when you hit refresh, it's not going to save it as a table, so they have to do it each time. So that is one way they could do it on their own if they needed to. They decide.
Could we do it as like a drop-down menu, one being sort ascending, sort descending, and then do it with like a filter? Like if you had like a report summary at the top that was showing how you were filtering it,
Mhm.
so like plus balance, minus balance. and stuff
Yeah, you
like
could do
that.
something like that. Yeah, if you want them to choose, it's just additional functionality you have to build into the report, but it could be done. So, okay. So those are our filters. I'll take both of those, they work. All right, now our tables and fields. Well, our labels are just what our display fields are here. So vendor number, name, phone number, contact, vendor posting group, balance, payment terms. Any idea which tables or table we're going to go to for this information?
Vendor table?
Yeah, to be honest, I could go through here and I would say, well, I know I can get the vendor number and the vendor name,
Yeah.
that phone number, that contact, vendor posting group, I bet you would be in there. So that's what I would do, is I would just start and say, okay, well, let's look at the vendor table. I know I can get number, name, phone number, contact. Let's check the
And
vendor
balance.
posting group. Vendor posting group's in there, great. Balance, let's take a look. Yep, we've got a balance. And payment terms. It seems like something that would be in there, right, assigned to that. Payment terms code. So we've got all of those, they're all in the vendor table. And it's just number, name, phone number, contact, vendor posting group, balance, LCY.
So this is when we would do the little dance we talked about?
Yeah, I get to do this, which means if I can get this all from one table, and I want to get a list of my vendors, going to the vendor table, is this a data dump or a summary list?
This is a summary.
Data.
Data dump, right?
Oh,
I'm going to
because
guess-
our
We're gonna have the
balance is
balance.
part of, okay.
Yep,
We
balance.
don't have to write in a summary for balance.
Right.
But if you were pulling the balance from the item ledger entry, or the vendor ledger entry,
Right,
then it
so
would
here's,
have to be a summary.
not necessarily,
No?
because what I could do is say, well, vendor number, vendor name, phone, contact, vendor posting group, and payment terms, those all come from the vendor table, right? If I need to get the balance from the vendor ledger entry table, for example, how can I find out the balance? Like what links the vendor and the vendor ledger entry table? Vendor number. I've got the vendor number here in my report. So I could do an NF, 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 NF right here, and then do this as a NL sum at the vendor ledger entry table, reference that vendor number. So you can mix and match, it's not always going to be straight across. If the majority of what I need, right, typically what you will say is, okay, what is it that's driving a report, this vendor number? Do I need this to be a data dump or a summary list? I could, not to confuse you, I could technically build this whole report as a summary list, right? I do an NL rows, go to my vendor table, give me the vendor number. I'm uniquifying a unique result already, but then I have to do an NL first, NL first, NL first, NL first, NL first, and it just runs slower, right? The data dumps run much more efficiently because what this would do is, okay, now I've got my unique list of vendors. Now I need to do it first. I need to go to that vendor table, look for that vendor number, find the vendor name, bring it back. Go to the phone, do that same query, look for that number, vendor number. If it's the 5,000th record, it's going to have to search through 5,000 records each time it does that NL first. Whereas when we do a data dump, it just says, go to this record, bring me this information back. So yeah, we're going to do a data dump on this one. So let's actually just move on because we do our data dump, we create our key, we do all that information. Let's look at exercise number 2. We're actually going to do this one together, so I'm going to delete all this stuff. This one's a little bit more, it's a short report, but it's got a little bit more involved. So background, we have been experiencing a large number of returns recently. In order to keep track of which customers are returning our products and how much money we are giving back to them, Katie, the marketing manager, has requested the following report. I need a report that shows a list of customers who made a return, i.e. a credit memo in 2008. For each customer, I need to see the customer's name, number, name, and the total amount of the returns I made in the time period. So what are we going to show in our mock-up? What is it we're interested in seeing?
Customer name, number, customer name, and total amount of returns.
Yeah, the total returns. I'm just building my little mock-up here. Do we need to apply any sorting to this?
Yeah, 2008.
Well, that would be a filter.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. But yeah, we don't really need to sort. It's not saying sort them by the total amount of returns or sort them based on their name or number or anything like that. So,
but it might be nice to have the returns by the greatest number first.
That's what I was going to say. This is one of those times we take liberty to kind of think what might be beneficial to them.
It is, and when we get to there, I'll show you why that would probably be. It can be done. It's very complicated because this is going to be a sum. So it's not just a field where I can go look at the customer number, what is their credit memos total, and then just that's not going to be a filter field. I actually have to create something, insert it in. It gets very, very complex actually. Doing that, in fact, on our message board, there's a posting called Sort by Sum, and it shows you step by step, and it's about a 10-step process to be able to sort based on a calculation. So.
All right, we can do it later.
So yeah, I'll be honest though, I've used it twice in just over a year. So you don't really come across it all that often, to be honest. Once you understand it, it makes sense and it seems pretty easy, but getting that comprehension fries your brain a little bit, to be honest. Okay. So our report filters, we talked about, well, go ahead.
What about the functionality here? Okay, so I want to just see my top 10 accounts that are having the highest number of returns.
Okay. Well, I can easily show you something that will say, give me a certain number of records. But in order to get that top 10, I have to resort my list, right? And then we're getting back into that, I need to sort this in order to do that.
So is it easier to copy it, put it into a table, and then put standard
Depends on how often you're going to do it.
Excel functionality?
Yeah.
We do it quite often.
Okay. Let's come back to that tomorrow. Maybe we will have to cover it in some of your custom reports. maybe it's something we will need to cover in order to do that. And if that's the case, then I'll show everybody how it's done. But let's not jump into that yet. Because there are ways we can sort, and I'll show you later today. I'm going to create a pie chart that shows my top 5 customers based on their sales, but I can get the sales number from the customer card. It's a flow field that's in there that actually looks at some other calculated field. And so I'm allowed to do that because it's a filter. It's a field in that table, and I can apply a sort to that. So we'll see how some of it, like the basic functionality, works, and maybe it will work for you. So we'll see. Okay. All right. So we got our mockup. So we said filter. We already got one. We've got our date, right? Our posting date is going to be one of those types of filters. And what do we make that, a report filter or a hard-coded filter?
What? For which one?
Our posting date?
Hard coded?
It's a set period of time, yeah.
For this particular report, hard, but you'd probably use it again, so.
Yeah, I would say, you know what, let's make it a report filter, because chances are she's going to need this in 6 months or next month or a year from now. Yes, she says I only want it for 2008,